Hey 49ers fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Chat Sports, and today we have another San Francisco 49ers mailbag video. Over the past week, I'd say the past 2 or 3 videos, you guys have been submitting your questions using the hashtag 49ers. We have an absolute ton of them right here on my laptop, and we're going to dive into all the questions you guys have for me as we prepare for week 2 in the National Football League. Let's just jump right into it. The Greek Freak on YouTube asks, do you think we still need a true number 1 wide receiver? Yes, I do. I truly believe the 49ers do not have a true number 1 wide receiver just yet. Now, can Deebo Samuel mold and morph into being a true number 1? Yes, but I see him more as a true number 2 wide receiver, not as a true number 1. Listen, it's no secret the Niners have a wide receiver problem right now. Now, Dante Pettis, we've heard, dealing with a little bit of a groin injury, not really trying to go down the field with the football for Marquise Goodwin. They have good receivers, but I don't think any of them are a true number 1 receiver. I'd love to bring in a true number 1. The problem is, who's going to trade you one? Which one are you going to go out and sign? There really is not a true number 1 wide receiver out there on the market. What you have on your team right now is what you are going to get. Now, I will say this. The Niners technically do have a true number 1 wide receiver. His name is George Kittle. Kittle's the best receiver on this team. He showed that again last week. 8 catches, was the leading receiver, which is going to be due for in a lot of games this season. But at the same time, the question is, would you like to see a number 1? Sure. Now, remember, we tried to go for Odell Beckham Jr., tried to go for Antonio Brown. Looks like it was smart to stay away from both of those two, but hopefully in the future here, maybe through the draft this next year, you're able to bring in a true number 1, because I don't know if Deebo is going to be a number 1, but I also don't know that if he's not going to be a number 1. I know what the comments are going to say. Thomas doesn't like Deebo Samuel. All right, feels like you guys say I don't like any of the 49ers players. Completely not true. I think Deebo Samuel is going to grow. He's going to get better. Obviously, week 1 was a lackluster performance. Only 3 catches. The false start, the fumble were bad, but I think that he's going to improve as the season progresses. I just don't think if his ceiling is a true number 1 wide receiver, I think he can be a very elite number 2 alongside a true number 1 wide receiver. Question for you guys here. Right now, who is the best receiver on this team besides George Kittle? Tough question, right? Because is it Richie James Jr., who apparently is going to be our leading wide receiver in receiving yards, did it in preseason, doing it now in the regular season? Is it Deebo? He's probably the most talented. Is it Pettis when he's healthy? Where's Goodwin? These are all questions you guys can answer for me down below. Okay, here's a question on Melvin Gordon. We have a lot of these, so I just kind of picked the best one here. If they trade forces by Louis Gramajo, I believe, they trade for Gordon, what guarantee do the 49ers have that he will even play? He's holding out till he gets the money no matter what team he is in. Besides, if they bring Wilson up and fails, when you have Jalen Hurd, he can go back to wide receiver or running back for a bit. Listen, if you're going to make a trade, let's just assume the Niners are going to trade for Melvin Gordon. It's probably not going to happen, but let's just say that they did. He would play, because the only way Melvin Gordon will agree to being traded, because he's kind of, his agent's kind of doing these deals right now, is the Niners pre-guarantee they will sign him to an extension. So any team that wants to trade for Melvin Gordon will have to give him an extension, or else he's not going to play. It's that simple. So if they do trade for him, they would have to sign him, therefore guaranteeing that he would play running back. The Wilson thing, again, a lot of fans have called for it. We'll see what happens in terms of him coming up. And Jalen Hurd is not going to go back to running back. Let me just stop those rumors right now. He played running back in college. When he switched to wide receiver at Baylor, he played a little bit of running back, but he needs to focus on playing wide receiver right now. Can't be a running back and a wide receiver at the same time. I know that running backs do it, but he's a wide receiver first now. Let him focus on 1, getting healthy because of the back, and 2, getting out on the field at wide receiver. Let's not worry about him at running back. I think Breida and Mostert can kind of hold it down, because Tevin Coleman's ankle injury right now is going to be week to week. All right, Mike Vick Jr. on YouTube asked, which Washington Husky has a better game and goes for 100 yards this game, meaning the Bengals game? Dante Pettis or John Ross? Well, neither. Is that fair to say? I don't think. I think the 49ers secondary is going to be good enough to stop John Ross. Now, John Ross had an excellent game last week against the Seattle secondary, which is still pretty good. The question is, though, can Dante Pettis even get on the field? Because he's dealing with that groin injury. I also truly believe, because I've reported this before, that they've kind of lost some trust in him, that he had a pretty bad offseason, pretty bad preseason, so Shanahan it wasn't just the groin, that he was only out there for 2 snaps. I don't think they trust Dante Pettis right now. Now, will they get him back on the field more this week? I think so. I would expect more than 2 snaps, but I don't see either of these guys going for over 100 yards. If John Ross does go over for 100 yards receiving, bad day for the secondary, and we might not be able to come away with a win, but I do believe we'll be able to hold John Ross to under 100 yards receiving and I don't see Dante Pettis going over, but I do see more of a production from him in this game, if that makes sense. Moving on here, Andrew Seagrave, I think it's Seagrave, we've had him before on YouTube, asks, do you think Kyle Shanahan was being truthful with his explanation of the extremely limited pitch count Dante Pettis receives? Seems suspect. Well, at the time of that video, at the time of that press conference, we had no idea that Dante Pettis was dealing with a groin injury. It's been revealed now. The problem is, though, I don't think we can just immediately throw all the blame on the groin. It's a very minor groin injury. Now, I know that groin injuries can be tricky. You can go minor to major. They're tweaked, they're tight, whatever. I still think there's something else going on here. Whether he wanted to see more of Deebo Samuel, whether they don't trust Dante Pettis, or Dante Pettis had a bad preseason or bad training camp, whatever, I think we're going to see him more, because now the fans have noticed it, and they can't keep him off the field and keep blaming an injury when he looks healthy in practice. I think we'll see more of him, but I do think that there's something a little bit extra there, and it's probably having to do with his performance off the field and in training camp and in preseason. Question for you guys. How many touchdowns will Dante Pettis catch this year? He's on track for 0 right now, which again is a funny joke. He will catch at least 1. I'm going to go 4 or 5 right now based on the performance that we've seen. If he gets more on the field, hopefully yes, but right now Pettis is a head scratcher. I'm not really sure what's going on. Hopefully it is just the injury, right? Like we hope as Niner fans it's just the groin, therefore it makes perfect sense. It's like, oh, he would be totally fine, but the groin injury, so we can't get him out there yet. We'll ease him into it. We hope that's it. Hoping I'm wrong, but we'll see what's happening going forward. All right, 49ers cut Jerick McKinnon and sign a more reliable running back. Here's the problem with that, because a lot of people have mentioned, like, just cut Jerick McKinnon because his career is basically over. You can't cut him because most of his money is guaranteed in the case of an injury, which is what he's had. So remember, we signed Jerick McKinnon after he still had injury in his past. He has a very vivid injury history. The deal was, and again, credit Jerick McKinnon's agent, where he basically was like, hey, take less money up front or whatever, but most of this money will become guaranteed if I do get injured. It was basically a way to protect himself. He did a good job because he got injured again, so you really cannot cut Jerick McKinnon. That money is basically dead money. But I will say this, if you want to go find a wide receiver, if you want to go find a running back, the Niners have like $25 million in cap space, so you have the money to go out and do it. Remember, they had a ton this offseason, so they can go sign one regardless of the fact that they already paid Jerick McKinnon. Now, will they do it? I don't know. But as we talked about in a previous video, there are a lot of cheap running backs out there. One of which I would love to see on this team is Jay Ajayi. He'd be like $3 million a year, max $4 million a year. I don't know why they haven't done that yet, but he has injury history as well, so I guess it makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, you basically can't cut McKinnon yet because a lot of his money is guaranteed if he is injured. Okay, Storm Shadow says, we talked about this a lot, but he says, think the defense can be a top 10 defense this year? I think so. I think so too. 17 points last week to the Bucs is a very impressive day for the Niners secondary. So impressive that Mike Evans, I think, told Ahkello Witherspoon, he was like, or he asked him a question while they were on the field. He was like, hey, do you know our plays? Witherspoon was like, no, we're just covering you guys very, very well. The defense is very, very good. I think they can be borderline elite. I think that they can really stop people up front. They have one of the best linebacking corps in the NFL. And the secondary is, I think, currently underrated because people still think it's old Richard Sherman and young Ahkello Witherspoon, but in reality, it's kind of Sherman back to his old self, and Witherspoon is more mature and it's kind of coming to his own. It's a good defense. I think top 10 for sure. The question is now, will they flirt with being top 5? We'll have to wait and see. And you get a Bengals team, which is look better than we expected, I guess, so it's another good test. And then you get the Steelers, who are always well prepared, except for on Sunday night against the Patriots. So good test coming up. We'll get to know more as the season progresses. Okay, how many sacks do you think Nick Bosa will get this season? I think I asked this question on my last video. I'll ask it again to you guys if you guys want to type down below how many sacks will Nick Bosa get. I still think less than 10, and I'll say that because most rookie defensive linemen don't go over 10. I think 8 to 10 is a very real possibility. The stats we talked about a couple of days ago, fantastic. 36 snaps, 3 tackles, 1 sack, and the second best rush sack rate among rookies in week 1. There's 1, so he's on track for 16. Maybe he's extra special this rookie year and gets you to 12. I think the ceiling is 12. I think the floor is 8. I think somewhere in between there, anywhere between 8 and 12, is an excellent season for Nick Bosa. So let's just keep that as long as he stays healthy, because the ankle's been kind of flaring up. He didn't practice the past couple of days. We hope he can play on Sunday. But as long as he stays healthy, I think 8 to 12 is a very realistic number for Nick Bosa. Jason Garcia asks, if you could choose one What 49ers, I guess 2019-2020, this year home matchup would you buy tickets for? I hope Jason is hinting that whatever one I pick, he's going to buy me tickets for. I'd love to go. If you guys got tickets, you got an extra one, you got season tickets, DM me on Twitter at @RealThomasMott. I will be there. Let's see. If I had to pick, I'm looking at the schedule right now, I would probably pick Seattle, Green Bay, or Atlanta would be the teams that I would want to see the Niners play at home this year, again, at Levi Stadium. Again, you can pick the ones. This is always interesting. I'm curious what you guys think about this as well, which one you guys would pick. Because as a fan, you could pick the easy one, where like you know that you're going to win this football game, or pick kind of a harder one and be like, man, I get to see an opposing quarterback who's really, really good, an opposing team that's very, very good, and if we win, there's extra excitement. So I'd go Seattle, Green Bay, or Atlanta. I've grown up really enjoying Aaron Rodgers. I'm not a Packer fan at all, but I do like watching Aaron Rodgers, so I like to see him. Russell Wilson would be a great divisional game. To me, he's the most exciting team that you would play at home inside the division. The Rams are one thing, but I'd rather watch them play Seattle. I think they could beat Seattle, too. That'd make a lot of sense. And then Atlanta is one of the teams you don't play often, but I think would be interesting later on in the year because right now they're beatable, but it's still a lot of talented players you could see up there at Levi Stadium as well. So if I had to pick Seattle, Green Bay, or Atlanta, probably Green Bay would be my choice up there at Levi Stadium. Which one would you all go to? If you're going to a game, let me know which one you guys are going to. If you want to go to a game or could choose any home game this season, type down below. I always read the comments. They were brutal the past couple of videos saying I hate Jimmy Garoppolo, which is not true, but you guys just freak out whenever I even give a little bit of criticism, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I always read the comments down below, so let me know which game you guys would want to go to. A couple more here. This guy, okay, Extreme Parkour has a lot of questions. He says, hey, Tom, I have a couple of questions. What will the 49ers record be this year? Will they make the playoffs? If so, will they win division or wild card? Trade for Gordon? Who or what picks would we have to give up? Okay, wow, a lot going on here right now. The records, it's so early. I just don't know yet. It's a tough schedule, though. And I kind of look at the schedule, and at most I see 9 wins. I think 8-8, 9-7 is a very real possibility, which I think will get you in the hunt for a wild card spot. The question is, who are you then playing in the wild card? I wrote these predictions on Twitter a while ago, but I'll throw up what I think the NFC is going to look like in terms of the playoff seeding. Eagles 1, Packers 2, Rams 3. I think the Rams are probably going to win this division. Let's just be honest. Saints 4, Cowboys 5, Vikings 6. The problem you have, you cannot beat the Rams out and win this division, which is still possible. They definitely could, especially if Garoppolo starts picking things up and the wide receivers start figuring things out and Tevin Coleman comes back. The talent's there because the defense is there. But if you go trying to get a wild card spot, Dallas looks stacked, and Dallas looked very, very good. I know Tom Downey at the Cowboys Report here is very excited after their Week 1, drubbing of the New York Football Giants. And the Vikings absolutely slaughtered Atlanta and have one of the best defenses right now in the NFL, and they have a ton of talent on offense with Dalvin Cook. So again, when you're trying to get into the playoffs here, you have to figure out, okay, well, if we win this many games, we'll be in. Well, you also got to remember, the NFC is stacked. Right, the NFC, there'll be 2 teams from the NFC East, most likely 2 teams from the NFC North, and then you got to go, okay, well, that means there's 2 spots left to get you to 6. One's a division winner. You get 2 teams from the West. Does that mean that the South only gets? I mean, who knows how this is going to go? The South has to have one as well. So it's loaded. It's going to be difficult. I think 8 or 9 wins is very possible. But once you get into the playoffs, anything is possible because anyone can have a big day and anyone can struggle, and we've seen that year in and year out in the postseason. He also mentioned the Melvin Gordon stuff, asking what picks we would have to give up. The reports right now, this is the national rumor, is that the Chargers looking for a first-round draft pick and a fifth-round draft pick, which is a ton to give up for Melvin Gordon. I would not do it for that. The most I would give up for Melvin Gordon would be a 2 by itself or a 3 and a 5. And listen, I think an elite running back would be good for this football team, although at the same time, I don't know. I mean, if Coleman comes back healthy, I don't think we need him. But if Coleman, kind of lingers like it can, ankle injuries can linger here, if you wanted to make the trade, I wouldn't spend more than a 3rd and a 5th round draft pick. A 1st and a 5th is way too high for me to go out and get Melvin Gordon, who's a great running back, but is he like a top 3 running back in the NFL? No, I don't think so. Plus, you can just wait and draft someone next year, like every other team has done in the NFL the past couple of years. You can get running backs in the 2nd and 3rd round and be just fine. So, I know I said earlier I would love Melvin Gordon, and I would, but I wouldn't give up more than a 3rd round draft pick. A 1st round draft pick is absolutely out of the question. I would never do that. The running back position is too devalued. Let's just keep what we have. Breed is fine, and I think Mostert's going to have a big game coming up here against the Bengals. What would would you give up for Melvin Gordon? It's a question. Like, what would you guys give up? Nothing? If you had to give up something, what would you do? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, running out of time. Rapid fire on these ones. Andrew Coker on YouTube asks, will the Niners trade Pettis for a better receiver this year? Do you think they should have had Jordan Matthews rather than Dante Pettis? Well, receiver for receiver trades rarely happen, and I don't see anybody out there that's willing to trade a wide receiver just yet. And you're not going to trade Pettis for one. Right? You're not going to go, hey, take Dante Pettis, who we don't like anymore, and give us your better receiver. It won't happen. I do think they should have kept Jordan Matthews. I was surprised whenever they did not keep Jordan Matthews. I understood going with Kendrick Bourne because he was a leading receiver last year. But I think right now, a veteran voice in that Niner wide receiver locker room would help out a lot. I would like to see Jordan Matthews do it. They're probably not going to bring him back. They're stuck with what they have. But I do think that maybe you should have kept Jordan Matthews instead of Bourne or whoever you wanted to cut at the same time. We'll see. Hopefully they can pick it up. That's the big, key right now going into Sunday. What do the wide receivers do? We'll see what happens going forward. Frankie Miguel says, why not sign Jay Ajayi? I've asked the same question. I have no idea why. He's been injured the past couple of years, but his final 7 games in 2017 for Philadelphia during the Super Bowl run, 408 yards, 1 touchdown, but to be a big number, 5.8 yards per carry. He can be a good running back. Then you bring him in for like nothing. You throw $2 million at him and said, hey, go in and compete. You stay healthy. We'll keep you longer. Who knows? There must be a real health reason why they haven't, but I would definitely be signing Jay Ajayi if I could. And let's go one more here. Chaotic Vic on YouTube. I think that's how you say Chotix Vic. I'm not sure. It's just Vic on YouTube asks, you know who you guys are. Says, yes, try to sign Melvin Gordon, see what the offense would look like with a 5-star running back like we would have had with Jerick McKinnon, but we never had a chance to really see him in the offense. At least a 1-year deal with Gordon can give us an idea of to look forward to. What do you think? Again, I said it before. You're not going to be able to just go ahead and trade for Melvin Gordon and then not sign him. Because if Melvin Gordon was going to play a 1-year deal and then look for a contract next season, he'd be playing with the Chargers right now. So if you had to trade for him, which you already said, you give up picks, right? 1st and a 5th. Then you got to sign him to this monster deal, $13, $14, $50 million a year. It's starting to look like it's not going to be worth it because, again, much like how I watched the Jimmy Garoppolo tape and gave you my honest opinion on how Jimmy Garoppolo looked last week, which is, again, 18 passes at or behind the line of scrimmage. You can say you're easing him into it, but it's time to go, right? We don't have, it's 16 games. That's all you have. Let's not ease him in. Let's go. That's my take on that. I also have watched a lot of Raheem Mostert tape, especially in the preseason, giving you guys grades. I think he can be very, very good in this offense. Has a ton of speed, like 4.4 speed, 4.34 speed, whatever it was. I think he's going to be okay. Him and Breida should be able to hold down the fort until Tevin Coleman comes back. But if you wanted to go get somebody, Jay Ajayi, I don't know. We'll see what they do. But again, I think the team as we know it right now is pretty much set. They're going to rely on that defense, hopefully be able to stretch the field a little bit more than they did last week, and we'll see what happens going into the Bengals game. There you go. That was a long mailbag video. Try to get as many questions in as possible. There were some I didn't answer, but be sure to stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe. We'll have plenty more mailbags coming up in the future. I'll try and get your questions in. Hey, you guys are hating on me for Jimmy Garoppolo. I see you. I read those comments, all right? I see you guys down below. I said before, I don't hate Jimmy Garoppolo. But the problem with a lot of true fans in NFL fan bases, they're blind to the negativity or the negatives that their quarterback possesses. Happens in every single city. I'm trying to look at it in an unbiased stance and give you my true, let's just be honest here. Yes, Garoppolo was good last week, but he did miss throws. He did have a pick 6, and he also was not throwing the ball deep down the field. I think that has to do partially with Kyle Shanahan's concern about him turning the football over like we saw him do in the preseason. I expect him to grow. I expect progression. I know he's coming back from an ACL injury. You got to ease him into it, but I would like to see a little bit more from a guy we're paying a ton of money to lead this franchise. But again, you keep calling me a Jimmy Garoppolo hater. It's fine. You're wrong, but I can't stop you from commenting. So I'll read all the comments on this one as I always do. I love you guys. You guys love me. I'm giving you as much 49ers stuff as I possibly can. Let's keep growing, keep building going into the Bengals game. I think we're going to win. I think we'll be 2-0. Give it to me 21-17, maybe close, but maybe 24-17, right around that would make a lot of sense. Let's be 2-0 heading back home to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. There you go. All the time we have for today on this 49ers mailbag, or the 49ers mailbag video. Be sure to subscribe down below. For Chat Sports, I'm Thomas Mott signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day.